Alright, so I'm going to pick up where I left off here, and I'm going to show you again how to roll. This is a pretty good sized leaf, and I've already got the meat in it, and believe it or not, that's not that much meat, and the trick here is to not put too much meat in. The pros that I learned from were my mother, who learned from my grandmother, and I remember as a child being reprimanded several times because I would put too much meat on the leaf and I'd have to take half of it off. And so that's how I learned to perfect this. We didn't make this meal that often. It was usually a holiday thing, but when we did, you know, we had to do it right. So I'm going to do this one-handed. Literally, you take the bottom of the leaf and you kind of roll it in, and then you tuck the sides in. Okay, and because these leaves are wet, they'll be somewhat cooperative. This one doesn't seem to want to be as cooperative as I would like. Hold on a second here. And fold this side in. This is not going to be the tightest roll I've ever made, but anyway, I think you get the idea. When you're using both hands, you literally can tuck in both sides at the same time. And you see it looks like a little cigar, and then you put it in on top of the rest of the leaves that I'm making here. And eventually, I'm almost done. When I get done here, then these will end up on the stove, probably about 30 to 45 minutes, and I'll continue to tell you a little bit more about it. Okay, so this is my pot full. Not quite as many grape leaves as I would have thought, but the meat ran out, and that's the way it goes. And I've also decided to do some kusa, and I've got a pan here with onion and garlic that I'm browning, and that's going to be the sauce that the stuffed zucchini is going to sit in. And I've already stuffed the zucchini. It's basically the same meat combination, except for a few extra ingredients. This has onion and some allspice, and it's going to be covered with a tomato sauce. And again, that recipe I got online, and I'll post it in case you want to use it, if you want to try making this yourself. The grape leaves actually came out of a can, or a jar rather. I don't think I'll buy this brand again. There were way too many little small ones, but you can see I've got quite a few left. I'm actually going to drain those out, rinse them with water, wrap them in a paper towel, put them in a plastic bag, and freeze them. And so I'm going to get busy working on cutting up the tomatoes and pouring the water on everything and getting the sauces going so that this can cook. And it takes about, altogether, it's going to take about a half hour, 45 minutes for all of this to cook. And while I'm doing all of this, you can see that I'm actually using my new little tablet and listening to a 15K formula course. And I can't think of a better way to learn while I'm cooking, since this is a process. This particular dish is a process. It takes a while to make it. So this way I can be doing something else while I'm learning, and then I can go back later and take notes and look at this a little more in depth. But for now, it's better to be learning something, even if it's just verbally, than doing nothing. I am going to do this a little bit differently. You see I bought some vine ripened tomatoes here. This recipe for the kusa stuffed zucchini calls for a jar or a can of tomatoes, whole tomatoes, diced tomatoes, and the juice and all, but I decided to try something different. So I'm going to cut these up and I'm going to put them in for the sauce, and I'm going to put a little bit of tomato paste in for the sauce as well. Okay, so I have cut up 3 or 4 of those tomatoes and put them in here and added some water. It looks like I kind of overdid the onions. I got a little bit brown while I was distracted, but that's okay. And I'm going to put some tomato paste in here, add more water, and then I'm going to put the zucchini in this pot. And on this side over here, just so you know what you need to do, this is very important, you need to be able to put a plate on top of your leaves, fill the pot with water over that plate, and then I've got another little dish that's heat proof, full of water, that's going to hold down the plate, which in turn holds down the grape leaves so that as they boil they don't start rolling and unraveling themselves. So that's a little trick I also learned from the family, and I imagine that's what everybody does. One more ingredient to add to this dinner is I've got a bunch of parsley here. I'm going to chop it up, along with a tomato and some onion and some wheat. The wheat is in the refrigerator soaking so that it ends up being soft. I'm going to make some tabbouleh to go with the rest of this meal. And when I'm all done, I'll show you what it ends up looking like.